Dubson, and welcome to the I Ching Cafe and our weekly I Ching overview for the week commencing the 19th of June 2023. June is barreling along, so if you've not yet done so, go and check out the monthly overview for June, where we are encouraged to grow and to do the work and to put ourselves into a process of development and the bigger picture that can result from that effort. And last week, we had duration, Hexagram 32, asking us to fix the omen. Do you remember me talking about this idea of creating a container, creating a manifestation of an idea through showing up, through ritual, through perseverance, consistency in character, and just coming to the party every day, even if you perceive that these rituals in your life are boring and predictable, it doesn't matter. It's that process of arriving and pitching and doing and building on our rituals in life every day that creates a long-term value. Very powerful indeed. And of course, the exhaustion. I hope, as I mentioned, that you just have the lightest touch of okay, there's a little bit of a low energy here in the second part of the week. I hope it wasn't too difficult to work through. And if you did have a lot of exhaustion, financially, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, whatever it is, that you thought about this episode last week and you thought, okay, I can deal with this. It's not personal. I can get through this. It's about how do I self-care? How do I work around this? How do I create a connection to the creative impulse and find a way to accept the situation of exhaustion, of feeling just flattened, shattered, okay, just embracing it. So if there was anything evidential that came up for you last week, please do share. We'd love to hear from you. So let's have a look this week. What are we working with? Well, our first hexagram for this week is Hexagram 30. The clinging is the Richard Wilhelm name, and radiance is what Stephen Kasha calls it, and others do as well. I love radiance, okay? And I'm going to talk about the idea of clinging and this idea of radiance as an idea of where our vision gets broader. Now, from the monthly overview, you'll remember we had Hexagram 20, contemplation, which is the tower, right? Where we go up to the top of the tower and we get perspective, okay? Now, you would think this hexagram, when I talk about having a broader perspective, okay, that is the same as Hexagram 20, and it's not quite, well, not in my mind the same. In Hexagram 20, you're elevating. You're getting a higher perspective. With Hexagram 30, radiance, you are broadening out your view, okay? You are on the ground, you're present in your physical world, not climbing the tower to see what's going on, but what you're doing is you're broadening your view. You have heard me lots of times with this hexagram talk about this idea of the campfire, where we are all seated in a circle around a campfire. And we put logs on, okay, and it burns. So it's like this big bonfire. And the more we put logs on, the bigger the fire burns. But if you've ever made a fire, you also know there's a difference between types of wood and wet wood versus dry wood. So the symbol of the fire is our spiritual clarity, our spiritual burning, our spiritual personal fire, okay? And what we cling to impacts our fire. Okay, do we cling to the best quality logs, okay, of dry, beautiful wood that are just so harmoniously in tune with flames, right? The flames and the wood just, it's a happy collaboration. And what we get is we get light and we get heat, okay? This talks about what do we cling to? That's the clinging part, right? What do we cling to make us shine brighter? For you, this might be your church, your spiritual practices, or meditation, or your family, or that one good friend that's always there to talk to. What is the thing you cling to that makes you burn brighter? Okay, we've all clung to things that make us dim our fire, okay, where we hide our light. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where we burn, okay. So this idea of radiance is where do we burn brighter? Where are we being asked to pay attention to where we have been clinging to an inferior source of fuel, spiritual fuel, physical fuel, okay? But this is a deeply spiritual hexagram. It's really quite powerful. Where do we cling to that deeper thing, that set of principles, set of values? What is the thing we cling to? And as we do, this bonfire gets bigger and bigger. And what happens? The radiance shows a much bigger realm of light. Okay, now instead of the light only being around a small fire, now the light is extended behind us. Okay, we now are seated in a ring of light, and we can now see things, details behind us we couldn't see. Things that were in the dark. Okay, they were outside our vision. We can now see what was in the peripheral. So this hexagram comes to bring us a focus. Number one, what are we clinging to? What's the fuel? Okay, what are we clinging to spiritually that helps us burn brighter? And perhaps this week you will get an experience of, that lights up my fire, and second, okay. And sometimes it's good in the week, in an example like this, is to have both those experiences, because they really highlight the learning. They highlight that really amplifies my radiance, and that really quashes my light. You can actually hear the sizzle as the flames get washed by all that water. So that's what our attention is being drawn to. Now, we have one changing line for this week in the first position. Now, changing lines, okay, they start at the beginning, they come in at the bottom, and they work their way up to position 6, and then they exit, they culminate. So, number one in the beginning is that illumination, that energy of radiance coming in through the bottom. And there's such a wonderful description of this changing line, and it talks about being asleep, okay? Remember, this is also about clarity and awareness, okay? This hexagram is all about our level of awareness, okay? As we come in the bottom, we've been asleep. So imagine that you're asleep, and you just open your eyes, and the light starts coming in, and the day starts up, and there's all this action, okay? And the action starts, and there's things happening, and there's people going there. Maybe the day of a wedding, right? You wake up, and before you know it, there's just action everywhere. There's people everywhere, and there's flowers going there, and there's a cake going there. But that's the idea. There's all this action. It's called going crosswise, okay? Lots of action happening in the moment. And, there's all this energy, and what we have to do is we have to stay focused on what's really important, okay? There's a wonderful startup energy, and we can go berserk very quickly, okay? We can get carried away by all the goings on, by all the noise, by all the activity that's starting up, and we can lose our focus. We can cling to the noise, okay, and all the action, and so the fire, our internal fire, starts to sizzle out. And so the way that we harness this is we get serious, and we concentrate, okay, and we double down on focus and our to-do lists, okay. So this week really brings our attention to where do we need to tap into our serious persona, okay, our concentrated, adult, serious, dedicated energy, to not get carried away by all this bustle that's starting up, okay, that is tempting us to get carried away with what is happening around us. And I know that you can do that. You can stay focused. Just be serious for this week, okay? Just call on the serious gods and fix that in, lock that in, and get serious this week and do what needs to get done, okay? Lots of activity, lots of illumination, lots of bustle. Work with it. Tap into its energy, but don't get lost in that bustle. Our second hexagram for this week is hexagram 56, the Wanderer. Really interesting that this hexagram comes this week with radiance, and I'll tell you why, because hexagram 56 is about travel. It's about going outside the place that you were born, okay, and going on an adventure somewhere else far away, going into a new land. Now, this might literally mean for you that you are traveling this week, okay, that you're going somewhere, or you're going to a new experience, and it could be that literal. For most of us, it's likely that we are going on a new experience. We are broadening our horizons. Because if you think about that classic old story of, I've never left the village I was born in, when you get on a plane and you go to a big overwhelming experience like New York City, for example, and you've come from this little town in the middle of nowhere, like the level of neuron firing off, right, and brain cell growth in that experience is like serious accelerated learning curve. And that's the idea. We're going into an environment that's not familiar. We're stepping out of the comfort zone. We're leaving behind the old city, okay, the old self. And we're saying, What's on that side of the hill? How do they live in New York City, right? This is a story, an example, and we are broadening our horizons. Now, when we are a traveler and we're traveling in new places, we also have to be humble. A good traveler is humble. They keep their wits right about them, right? They don't, lose themselves in strange, unfamiliar places. You stay focused. You are a traveler, but you accept that there are cultural standards and norms and practices that you don't understand. You can't judge them because you don't understand them. It's not part of your culture. And now you've arrived in this new culture, and don't make the mistake of being arrogant, okay? Be humble and just learn. Open up, okay? Be a piece of film upon which things are imprinted, okay? That's the idea of it's a bad analogy nowadays when film is not really imprinted, but you get the idea of being opened up to a new way of life, a new perspective, and just embracing it, embracing the learning, going on a new learning journey, accepting you don't know anything about this new place you're in, but you're here to learn, and you're quiet, sitting at the back, watching, okay, how this all works, soaking it all up, taking in every sensory experience of this new journey. So we are traveling. We might not be physically going somewhere, but we are certainly traveling into a new place. It's how we travel well, okay, with humility, with openness, with our wits about us, that makes the difference. An interesting week where we are seeing the combination of awareness through this radiance, hexagram, and energy, broadening our awareness, and this travel energy of stepping into the new, outside the comfort zone. And that's why I mentioned an interesting combination, these two: awareness building, life experience building, new adventures, okay, on a quest for the Holy Grail. Here we go. Have a wonderful week. Like and share if you enjoyed this episode, and of course subscribe if you are new to the channel or the podcast. And I look forward to seeing you at our next weekly episode. See you soon.